So hata sikukimbia like even 2 meters. So akanishika. Wakati alinishika, I had just a sharp pain on my thigh. Then ndio nikaona kumbe amenistab na kisu.
In 2008, Kenyans are just dusting themselves from the emotional turmoil of post-election violence. The violence had claimed more than 1,000 people across the nation. Only after enjoying 8 months of calm and peace, Naivasha town erupts again. It's not about guns and machetes or tear gas across the streets. The tragedy involves a single individual who instilled fear at heart of the whole town. This feels or sounds like fiction, but it actually happened. 2 women were captured, tortured, raped for days by a man in Naivasha. Fortunately, they were later rescued by police officers after a few days, but not before they were subjected to what they described as satanic or dark rituals. On today's podcast of Murder Chronicles, we cover the Vampire, a case that happened in Kihoto area, Naivasha town of Kenya. Kihoto is a typical slum, a patchwork of mud, timber, and rusted iron shacks crazily thrown together. Under such circumstances, violent crimes would hardly raise eyebrows. The case involves Geoffrey Njoroge Matheri. Angry residents had taken the law into their own hands after suspecting that there was a rapist and a serial killer among them. They would finally come to a shocking discovery as earth movers brought down a madhouse, and beneath the area where there was a bed is a buried, decomposing body of a woman. Out of this, the police immediately arrested a man commonly known as Geoffrey Njoroge Matheri, alias Fongo, as the Red Cross officials took the woman's body. At this point, news are viral that Naivasha has a vampire in town. The situation was saved by a 16-year-old girl by the name Esther Akinyi, who managed to escape from Fongo's house, and so she quickly ran to the nearest police station at Kihoto and alerted them. She gave a statement saying that she had been held captive for a week by the villain, Geoffrey Njoroge Matheri, a.k.a. Fongo. The girl added that one night, while in the captor's hands, there was a time he stabbed her, collected the blood in a cup. The captor kept stabbing her in different spots and parts of the body until the cup was full. Esther confirmed that she was not alone in that house. Naomi Wanjiru, another victim, had been left in the house. She said that Naomi was too weak to escape and on the verge of death. While in custody, Matheri gave a list of the people who had given him the assignment to kill and sell the victims' private parts and the blood. Among them, Bishop Jeremiah Petro Palanya. He is of the New Hope for Nations Church. He was named by the men who claimed to have killed, feasted on human flesh, and drank their blood. The bishop was called upon by the police for questioning. However, he claimed that all he did was help the miserable street children. 14 days later, Geoffrey Njoroge Matheri was arraigned in a Nakuru court, faced with the kidnapping and rape charges. He was being accused of capturing and confining 2 women in his house. In court, the prosecution team called upon several witnesses, among them Naomi Wanjiru, who was also a kidnapped victim. She told the magistrate that it was indeed Fongo who had assaulted them and could drink their blood. She added that she witnessed Geoffrey Matheri bite one of her friends before turning on her and drawing blood from her hands and body. She confirmed that Fongo had been raping the victims repeatedly, as well as drinking their blood. Naomi said that Fongo already had a dead woman's body in his house. That very same day, she and the 14-year-old girl were captured by him. The judge painted him as a cannibal, a man who inflicted unimaginable pain to his victims before dismembering their bodies, a man who killed without a care in the world, a man who killed to gain at all cost. A police officer testified how he and his colleague rescued the 2 women when they came to Fongo's house. Bloody clothes and other items in the house painted the picture of a human slaughterhouse. It painted that Fongo is a murderer, a beast, a cannibal who didn't deserve living among civilized citizens. After 4 years in trial, the Naivasha court acquitted Geoffrey Njoroge Matheri of 4 counts of rape and assault. The magistrate ruled that the prosecution team had only proved illegal confinement charges against Geoffrey Njoroge Matheri. Geoffrey Njoroge Matheri told the court that he was a remorseful and changed man, and he wanted the court to pardon him. The magistrate was, however, not pleased with the evidence on the assault and rape charges. An important exhibit, a P3 that should have supported rape and assault claim against Fongo, was not presented in court. Geoffrey Njoroge Matheri was declared free of assault and rape charges. He was now being faced by lesser offense of illegal confinement. Fongo was finally a free man after 4 years imprisonment, but in Nakuru, he was still a wanted man for the only victim he was linked to, and so he was immediately arrested by the Nakuru police force, so he was driven back to prison. While in prison, some of the prominent media houses interviewed him. He confessed that he was a man who was following instructions. He was a man under oath.
Hasa ni venye tu naweza ua kitu kidogo, useme hiyo kitu kidogo sana. Mimi naachana. Naua, nabeba, naona hiyo kitu kidogo kwangu sana. Kuchukua mwanamke. Toba kujipeleka na damu, titi na damu. Unaweka wapi kisha? Kuna sufuria hii ya kupikia. Na ingine ilikuwa nimenuia hiyo kazi. Hata saa ingine kama situmii hiyo nguo, nachukua kisu. Damu inamwagika kwa sufuria. Ingine yenye inamwagika huku nakata hiyo inatoka, hiyo naikunywa, hiyo ni yangu ya kunywa. Lakini kwa hiyo ya singa yenye inatoka, hiyo ni yangu. Hiyo ni ya kazi. Lakini yangu nilikuwa natumia kwata hivi. Lakini sana nilikuwa si kuwa natumia hiyo kama kukula ndio nilikuwa nakulaga watu sana.
Before facing the new trial, Fongo was taken through mental assessment so that the investigating team could determine if he was suffering from any mental sickness that may have driven him to committing such crime. Dr. Joseph Njue, a court-appointed psychiatrist, examined Fongo before trial. The evaluation concluded that he was of sound mind at the time and fit to stand trial. So legally, the authorities found no evidence of mental illness or cognitive impairment that would have affected his criminal responsibility during the legal proceedings. Geoffrey said that on one day, the bishop approached him and a group of other street kids. He spoke to them saying that he was there to offer them a job that would help them have a good life and out of the ruthless streets if they accepted to work for him. The other boys declined, but Fongo accepted. He went and stayed at Bishop Jeremiah Petro's house for a whole month, being pampered and treated well. Finally, he was told that the job he was to do is to kill people. Bishop Jeremiah Petro remembers that he was on his way driving back from Nairobi on a Sunday. A DCI officer called him. The officer requested to see the bishop as soon as he arrived in Naivasha. He managed to arrive in Naivasha that very Sunday. Being in the middle of such serious allegations, the bishop was arrested. After his arrest, his congregation quickly went down from approximately 800 worshippers to 150. The next day, on a Monday, the bishop was taken out of the cell. He was to be taken to Gilgil, where he was to see a psychiatrist who was to assess him mentally. He was driven in the same police car with Geoffrey Njoroge Matheri. Jeremiah's mental health was found to be sane, and so after the assessment, he and Fongo were driven back to Naivasha in the evening. At this time, the public is so angry with the bishop, and they wanted to bring down his church. And indeed, the angry mob set the church on fire. The bishop, in contrary to Matheri's testimony, said that he only used to see Fongo among other street children, but he never interacted with him. That very day, when he was arrested, the bishop had said that it was the very first time he interacted with Geoffrey Njoroge Matheri. The bishop added that for Geoffrey Matheri to accuse him of such, he was obsessed by demons who were controlling his actions. He said the Fongo was only being used as an instrument. Later, the bishop was set free after the police were unable to link him to the accusation made by Geoffrey Njoroge Matheri. He was set free from the gaudy accusation that had emerged from Matheri. So, the Attorney General wrote a letter to the bishop, clearing him of the accusations. The new hope for the nation's church still stands up to date. However, for Geoffrey Njoroge Matheri, the journey was still a tough one. Up to this point, he was still facing murder charges. Towards the end of July 2016, Geoffrey Njoroge Matheri, alias Fongo, also known as the Naivasha Vampire, was released from Naivasha Maximum Prison after being in detention for almost 7 years. The Nakuru High Court quashed the murder charges on grounds of insufficient evidence. On a Friday, July 29th, Lady Justice Maureen Odero cited a lack of strong evidence. After being freed by the court, Matheri, making his way to stay with his uncle in Wanyambo village, Kinangop, Nyandarua County, encountered local residents. That was less than 48 hours after his release. Villagers were able to recognize him, and so the crowd intercepted him, cornering him on a rural path. The villagers quickly turned violent, beating him severely. One report noted that they reacted violently to what they felt was unduly lenient release, calling the 7 years detention too short for someone they believed had committed heinous acts. Later, after the attack, he was found with the help of police officers and his ankle. He was taken to Naivasha Hospital, where he was admitted suffering from severe injuries, including head and back trauma.
Geoffrey Matheri shifts on his bed in pain at the male ward in the Naivasha Sub-County Hospital, shocked by the brutality leveled against him 2 days after his acquittal of a bizarre case that occurred 9 years ago. This is the man who shocked the country by confessing to cannibalism and drinking human blood, earning him the name Naivasha Vampire. He was brought here on Monday evening with head and leg injuries. Matheri says his release was met with apprehension.
Huko kwetu nikakuta watu wote wamelala. Sasa video likabidi hiyo jirani yangu akaniambia hapa kuna kuwa na nyumba 10 na kwa hiyo akinipata hapa anaweza nipiga hapa. Kwa haraka ndio nijele nikakoboa road na nikalala.
There were reports that he was attacked by villagers who were unhappy with his return, but he has a different story.
Akaniambia unajua hii barabara unapitia saa hii usiku kuna kuwa na wakora. Nikamwambia kwanza nipige tero kama mimi ni mkora mtanipata na silaha mnipige. Akanipiga tero akakosa. Hiyo polisi mwingine akaitisha miniti ya jembe. Akakuja akanipiga hapo. Raia ikajaa hapo.
Since then, Geoffrey Njoroge Matheri, alias Fongo, has remained largely out of the public eye. The major murder and abduction cases that once shocked the nation were officially closed due to insufficient evidence, leaving many unanswered questions about the fate of his alleged victims. As for the last known report, Geoffrey Njoroge Matheri, alias Fongo, remains a free man, though the shadows of his past continues to linger. For many, his story remains an open wound, an unresolved chapter in Kenya's criminal justice system. Thank you so much for tuning in, and if you'd like to support the Murder Chronicles team, please do so by subscribing. In the meantime, stay safe and Murder Chronicle Crime Stories continues.